It's a problem that affects us from coast to coast, leaving no state untouched. We're talking about homelessness, but how does it affect students and what help is available to them? We'll be answering these questions and more on today's Community Connection. Hi, and welcome to Community Connection, the show that brings real-life learning and education to the community. I'm Marcy McNeil. Homelessness. It's a word that we're all familiar with, but usually when we think of it, we associate it with an adult living on the streets. But that is not always the case. Homelessness affects us all, despite race, age, or gender. It is estimated that in Mobile County, more than 6,000 children are homeless. How is that so? Well, we're here to talk to the experts that are located right here in Mobile County under our homeless education program. Larissa Dickinson and Denise Reamer, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us,
Thank
Marcy.
you. And we're being formal for the TV, but we have to talk all the time. We are in connection with the communication department and your department on helping others in the public. So can you tell us, Larissa, tell us what you do.
Well, we are social workers in the homeless education program, and our first charge is to make sure that homeless students are enrolled immediately in school and attending, and that they have an environment where they're successful. And that entails enrollment. A lot of homeless students don't have the proper documentation, such as proof of residency, because they may be living with relatives or living in a hotel or motel, or even living in their cars. Mm-hmm. So our job is to make sure that they have what they need so that they can enroll.
Okay. So we have a large school system, the largest, Denise, in the state of Alabama. What is the number that you're helping students on a day-to-day basis?
I mean, last year we served, as you said, about a little over 5,800 students. Wow. And so there are three of us trying to cover the district to do this work. And, you know, as Larissa said, a lot of what we try to do is make sure these children are enrolled so that they can succeed academically just as any other child can. We also help with uniforms and school supplies and hygiene supplies and things like that these children might not have access to, so that they can look like all the other children and not be stigmatized. That's very, very important.
Of course.
Those things that will also help them improve their attendance if they have some stability in their lives and they have the things that they need, as Larissa mentioned.
So you two are social workers. I mean, this is your profession. But for a teacher with a student that comes in, how would he or she say, something, I might need to call the homeless department, something's just not right? I think you call it at-risk students?
Well, generally, when we try to train our school system employees to look out for signs of homelessness.
Oh, that's great.
And one of the things is they're missing a lot of days out of school.
Okay.
If they're coming to school late, if they're coming to school with soiled clothing,
right.
They're coming to school hungry. Those are some of the things that we teach our school personnel to look out for, and to listen to the students and things that they say. If they're ill prepared for school, they don't have their belt, they don't have their homework. It could be that they stayed in the shelter the night before, or a hotel, or at a relative's house, and they're moving around, and so they may not have all the necessary supplies. So that's kind of like what we tell the schools to look out for.
Right, but it wouldn't be a one-time occurrence. My children forget their stuff all the time. This is a constant.
It's a pattern of behavior that's going on, and normally a student that was on time, dressed properly, in clean clothes, then you notice that they're coming late, they're not coming,
right.
their clothes soiled, they're hungry, kind of looking for change in their behavior.
Right. Yeah, and this might be a gradual thing, Denise. Might not only happen just, spot on.
It doesn't. It happens for all, as you were saying before, it happens to all ages, genders, certainly all socioeconomic classes, because really, there are many people living on the edge of poverty, and so one incident, whether it could be like an accident or medical bills or an eviction, could plunge that family into homelessness where they've never been before. And so often they don't know how to access the system, and they don't know how to access the help.
Right.
And they're often afraid
Yeah.
to go to the school and say, you know, this is what's going on in my family, because they're afraid of being stigmatized. They're afraid of their children being stigmatized. And so what we try to do, in addition to the education for our faculty and staff and school personnel, is that we try to get out into the community and let people know that we are out there. That's, you know, we work with a lot of different agencies, including Housing First and Catholic Social Services and Salvation Army and Mobile Community Action, and just so many others that we work with who come into contact with families and who may say, you know what, you might need to contact the Homeless Education Program because they can help you get your child back in school or make sure that your child is getting to school regularly so that they can academically succeed.
That's great. That's great. Because with us being the largest school system in Alabama, we cannot emphasize that enough, that means that a lot of that 6,000 children that we talked about, you know, come from our schools.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of the other programs that we do toward in the summer and in the beginning of the school year is that we work with different companies and different charitable agencies who want to donate to our program to help with homeless education. And so certainly we get vouchers for uniforms and school supplies. And I know last year ThyssenKrupp donated some school supplies to us. And so we were able to get those out to the schools, to the neediest of our homeless children. So that was really helpful as well.
That's great to know. That's great to know. And you do make sure that you vet and make sure that you go over and the most qualified people receive these uniforms. I don't want people to think that they can just come to your department. You have to qualify for this need that you provide.
Well, yes, we have a uniform assistant application that we ask our families to fill out, and we ask them to fill out at their school.
Okay.
And because the school system know their family, the schools know their family, and they can kind of direct us to the ones that need it. And once they fill out the application, it's sent to our department, and we call and check with the families to make sure that not only they're getting the uniforms that they need, but to see if they have any other services, anything else that we can do for them. So it's kind of twofold, to vet the need and also to see if we can offer any other services and refer them out to the community for additional like housing or food assistance.
That's great. That's great to know. And I want to leave a little tip because I have 3 that went through the school system. When you're leaving from an elementary to a middle school, donate those uniforms back to the schools because the schools can also identify when a child needs and it's right there.
Absolutely. We've encouraged all of our schools to have an in-house uniform closet and to do something at the end of each school year to allow those 5th graders or any other families that would like to donate school uniforms that don't fit anymore to the school. And we've also partnered in the past with Salvation Army, and they've been able to wash, dry, and fold those uniforms for us to give them back to the school so they'll have them for their uniform closets.
That's wonderful. So even if you don't have time to clean it, just donate it anyway. You guys will make sure that it's done.
Right.
A lot for 3 people, a 3-person department. And you do have, really quick, a little backpack program sometime that you do on the weekend. I know that some of our schools will gather together a little backpack for children that they take home.
That's actually a community connection of ours.
That's great.
That is done through several different agencies. And so what the schools have to do is they have to reach out to that community connection that we have if they want to participate in the emergency food backpacks. And they do send those home with children on the weekends that they know may not have a good meal over the weekend. So that's in place in many of our elementary schools.
Yeah, and a lot of what you do really makes a difference. When we get back, Denise, can you introduce us to some of your success stories, and maybe we can go further into how the public and the community partners with us to help us out?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Stay tuned.
Your vehicle is not a toy. It's a responsibility. Don't text and drive.
Hi, and welcome back. As I promised before, we are now here with Denise Reamer. And Denise, we've talked about some of the things that your department does, and you've brought with us one of your actual success stories. Can you introduce us?
Yes, Marcy, this is Cheryl Carty, and she is one of our parents, and she has a daughter in 5th grade at one of our elementary schools. And so I wanted to bring her today just so, because she was going to talk about how the agencies collaborate and connect each other to the parents to make sure that we're getting the services to the families and the children that need them in our school system who are experiencing homelessness.
Well, without going into great detail, because we understand that things happen, we were talking, about the different types of homelessness. Can you just kind of tell us an overall picture of what brought you here and how Denise and her department kind of helped you and your family?
Actually, I did start out in a homeless shelter. I started out in my car.
Okay.
Then I started out into a homeless shelter with a family needy. Then I left there and went to Housing First, and they helped us with clothing, the uniforms, I guess you can say with field trips and things of that nature.
So tell us how that helped, especially having a department like Ms. Reamer's, to help with your student, make sure that she didn't fall behind, she stayed with everyone else.
Oh, it helped her. It's immaculately. It really helped her graciously. It helped her with the grades. Her grades, she's AB honor roll.
Oh, that's wonderful. Congratulations. That's good.
Her spirit.
Yeah.
Her spirit is just wonderful.
That's
Brought her from being down in the dumps, very high spirited.
Good.
Very high spirited.
And do you notice that a lot, Denise, when the students come in? Do you often see that emotional change?
We do. A lot of times what we see is, families who've been in such instability in both their housing and their academic settings with the children, that the children have missed a lot of days, and they're scared to go back into the school. They don't have the clean uniforms or book bags or school supplies that they need.
Right.
And so when we get involved and we're able to help them, help the parents by paying for field trips and making sure they have clean and new uniforms so they look like everyone else in the school, it really helps them. I remember one young man who was just so excited to have a book bag and some hygiene supplies with a comb. And he was just so happy about that because it really made a difference for him. And same thing with Cheryl's daughter. We've seen a definite improvement in her attendance and her grades because she's now stably housed in a transitional living program. And so her daughter gets to go to the same school every day, and she is participating in all the activities that are there at the school. So that really does help a lot.
That does. Cheryl, no one wants to be here, but if they find themselves in this situation as you were, what do you recommend? How do you tell them to go and ask for help and to seek the assistance that people have to offer?
I would say go for it.
Right.
Ask for the help. Don't be ashamed.
Yeah.
If you need the help, go. I don't know. All I did, I picked up the phone. I called Salvation Army. I told them, look, you got housing, help. Put me on your list.
Right.
And as soon as I had the availability was there, I took it.
Yeah. And I like that advice, not to be ashamed, because a lot of times, like in your case, Cheryl, you have a family, you have children that you need to think of, and I know sometimes pride can get in the way, but your children need that extra help more so than anything, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
To get on.
And I advise any of you out there, if you need the help, go get it.
Right.
Don't be ashamed to go get it.
Yeah.
Everybody needs it sometime or another.
That is certainly true. That is certainly true. And Denise, if you know someone or someone's out there, what do you suggest that they do and they don't know how to contact you, let's say?
Well, one thing that's really great is that we do work so closely with our agencies in town, so they do know about our department at central office.
Right.
And of course, we can be reached through student services. Our main number there is 221-4245. And the thing that we encourage parents to do is really let their schools know what's going on. You know, let your counselor know at the school. Let the principal know. A lot of times parents are afraid to let their principal or their counselor know or the teacher know what's really going on.
Yeah.
But what we found is by doing education with our faculty and staff to let them know what to look for and the signs and symptoms and things like that of homelessness in children, that they can kind of let us know if they see something. They're like, you know, Denise or Larissa, you know, you might want to check this out because this child is having trouble. They're not having their homework. They're not attending school regularly. They might be very hungry. And so a lot of times we'll get referrals from the counselors, from the administrators directly to us. But certainly if there are families out there who are in need, start with your school first, and then they certainly know how to contact us to get that ball rolling and to get that help that those families need.
Right. And Cheryl, they helped you a great deal.
Yes, ma'am.
And so now you have a permanent housing situation?
We've got one lined up.
That's perfect.
Got one lined up, and I guarantee you, and Housing First has helped me wonderful.
Well, we are going to talk to some people when we get back that help Cheryl and explain how great Housing First is. Stay tuned.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally.
Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls.
But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys know statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected.
Welcome back. And we are joined by Eric Jefferson and Michelle Dees with Housing First Homeless Coalition. Thank you so much for joining us on today's program.
Thanks for having us.
Tell us a little bit about Housing First Homeless Coalition.
So Housing First started in 1992 with a cry in the community about the homeless in Bienville Square. A group of citizens downtown, the United Way, and the local churches came together as a task force to determine what they could do about that problem. So out of that task force came a nonprofit called the Homeless Coalition of the Gulf Coast, and was tasked with finding housing and programs to help the homeless. In about 2000, they changed the name to Housing First, which was a national model of let's get folks into housing first and then work on their issues. And so since 2000, it's been Housing First, the Homeless Coalition.
This is a great program that you're doing and a wonderful service. I know that, of course, naturally you help a lot of adults, but since our program is dealing with community connections with the school system, you also help a lot of students.
We do. In conjunction with the partnership with the school system, they contact our community connections and then determine what that family needs, and then we try to find housing for them or whatever services are available for them. And some of the other services Michelle will be able to tell you about because she works directly with those.
Michelle, tell us about some of these services.
We've got a wide array of services that are available. Those services that are available for children, we do have some, but we are definitely working on getting some additional ones in place. So, we work with Sybil Smith Family Village, which helps families that have children. Also, the Salvation Army Women's and Children's Program. At this time, we don't have a true emergency family shelter, but we are really, really working very hard to make that happen. And we are actually in talks right now with another agency to see if that might be something that they can step into that role. Furthermore, we are working on developing a safe parking program. There are lots of families out there who live in vehicles for multiple reasons. Many of the ones that we hear the most are things like they won't let me take my children to the same shelter as I go to, or I'm afraid that DHR will find out and then they will take my children away. And so in a response to that, we are actually working on putting on this campus a safe parking program, which would allow those families that are sleeping in their cars to have a safe place to park their car where they can still obtain services at a time in the evening that works for them, because many of those families have jobs during the day.
We talked earlier about student homelessness. It's not what people actually might consider. Can you give us a typical homelessness that the various ranges that you would find here in the community?
Homelessness varies in this community. I'm pleased to say that we have actually eradicated chronic homelessness. We're at functional zero for chronic homelessness by HUD's definition. HUD's definition is that that person has been homeless on the streets for more than a year, so 12 consecutive months, or they've had 4 episodes of homelessness within the past 3 years. So we do not have those types of homeless in our community anymore. And when we do find them, we're able to house them within hours usually now. And so that's good stuff.
Yes.
But that is one type of homelessness. Those are the people that you often think of when you think of homeless. What we have a lot of in this community is people who have become homeless, families, veterans who have fallen on hard times, medical bills, loss of a job, the economy when it didn't do well. And those folks who had previously been doing quite well find themselves in a situation that they don't know how to fix. And it can be very difficult to try and claw your way out of that without some sort of assistance.
Because sometimes, a lot of cases, a person is a paycheck away.
Exactly. Most of the community.
That's absolutely true. But the other part of homelessness that we don't have a true control over in our community is what we call couch surfing. Those are those families with children who can stay at a relative's house for a week here, another relative's house for a week there. They can normally get into a hotel if somebody else pays for it for a while. And that part of homelessness in our community, we're just starting to address. We only know the numbers because of our Community Connections network, where we can track the data to determine who needs what services. And so when we start to look at that part of homelessness in our community, the number goes from about 722 based on HUD's definition of homelessness through our annual point in time count to over 6,000 homelessness, because HUD's definition does not include that couch surfing criteria, which in our community we do need to address.
And let me say this for our audience. If you are helping a family member, if you're helping a friend like this, is that the time to go ahead and contact your group?
They need to contact us and let us get the information on that family, find out what's going on, to see what services are available for them, because we're probably going to have to walk them through some steps that they don't know about or they don't want to know about in order to get them housed.
But they'll be ahead of the game.
Absolutely.
Well, when we get back, we're going to talk to the head of the 15th place and find out some of the day-to-day duties that they do and how they utilize this wonderful building.
It's here, the MCPSS mobile app. It's a way for you to stay connected and informed with all of the happenings around the school district. Receive weather alerts, check your child's grades and homework, plus more. Watch sports, original programming, find school locations, and read the latest news. Stay connected with all your favorite social networking sites. Download it today for free.
Welcome back. And as I promised in the last segment, we are now in the 15th place, and we are here with Emily Head and Josh Willis, who will tell us a little bit about this wonderful place and what they do. Emily, can you tell us a little bit about the Community Connection Network?
Sure. So the Community Connections Network is a coordinated assessment process that HUD has mandated that every continuum of care have. So the coordinated assessment system and process is a process in which people can enter to the homeless service providers. We do an intake and assessment to determine what are the needs that that client needs, as well as then running our eligibility determination to see what programs we have within Mobile and Baldwin counties, what programs they're available for.
So Emily, I am homeless or I'm having problems. I come in. I'm not just going to come into the 15th place and just sit down. You're going to first give me the assessment, determine where I'm at, what I need. Then Josh, what will you do once Emily is finished with that assessment?
Once they're done with the assessment, we have several sort of respite services that are available at 15 place just to kind of ease with the kind of difficulty of being homeless in the city of Mobile. As we've probably noticed today, the weather's pretty bad, so at the very least we give them a way to get out of the rain, get out of the cold or the heat. We have showers available. They can use us as a mailing address, which is one of the bigger and more impactful services that we have to offer. Most of the time when you go for services, say food stamps or a state ID, you have to have an address.
Right.
So they can use us as an address and have those kind of services delivered. We have a locker room. Most of the people that we serve carry many, many bags. All of their belongings they're carrying around on their back all day. So they can store them with us during the day. Kind of helps them if they need to go do job interviews, go to the doctor. They don't have to carry everything they own with them everywhere they go. We also have space for several of the local service providers in town, and they provide their services here in the building so they don't have to ride the bus or drive all over town to get to their appointment with AltaPoint, the psychiatric services provider, or get to their doctor at Mobile Infirmary, or go to all their job interviews, food stamp interviews, things like that. We offer space for that to happen inside the building. Homelessness can become a full-time job without a space like 15 Place. So.
And you're kind of like a home away from home, kind of. I mean, you're like a place where they can come and store while they get themselves back on their feet and get settled.
That, from the beginning, that was the idea, is that we would try to be someplace safe and secure and hospitable for people that don't have that luxury.
And speaking of the transitioning, can you tell us again, Emily, after you've done your assessment and they've gone through the routine at 15th Place, where do you take them from there? Do you go back and check on them and come back and say, okay, Josh, I need this person. This is now where they're supposed to be?
So absolutely, we do follow-ups with our clients, and we will follow up at least once a month, but if not more, as needed. One thing that I'd like to note is that 15 Place is a day center, a day shelter. So right now, with our families, we are having, if they're sleeping in their cars, we do not have the capability for an emergency shelter situation, being able to house them. So sometimes it can be difficult to follow back up with our clients, but that has been one good thing with having the liaison at the Mobile County Public School System, because it's easier for you guys to get in touch with them. And so we definitely appreciate that coordination of care.
What about donations? I know that a lot of people take things to Goodwill. What if they just want to bring it right here? Are there some donations or anything that you could use that people can bring?
So absolutely, blankets, obviously during the wintertime and colder months. One good thing that you can do, you can still, when you donate to Goodwill, you can ask for a citizen voucher and a Good Samaritan voucher and put our name on it. Housing First.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for what you do every day. I mean, it must feel good to make a difference. And thank you for watching, and you've heard what you can do. Stay tuned and we'll tell you more.
You know my dad can eat 3 huge bacon cheeseburgers this big.
For my dad, that's like a snack.
Yeah, well, he also ate a mountain of French fries.
My dad can eat a mountain of French fries with bacon and cheese.
Yeah, well, my dad can eat 5 buckets of fried chicken.
My dad can eat 1,000 chicken nuggets.
My dad can eat a quadruple burger.
My dad can eat 500 corn dogs.
Yeah, well, one day I'll be able to eat twice that.
As you can see, homelessness is not confined to the person on the street. You or someone you may know might need assistance. So we're closing out this show with contact information. Be sure to contact us if you want to volunteer or donate. Remember, it affects us all. This is our community. Let's stay connected.